Welcome, everybody, to episode 411 of the Dutch Hall. For this one, we broke all the rules, and we went to Zoom, dirty Zoom, because our next guest is actually from Germany. He's living in Germany right now, but he is a Canadian comedian and a guy I'm a real fan of. And he came out with a new album, Hunter Collins Goes to Hell. And so I wanted to interview him about it. I wanted to promote the album. And so I was lucky enough to have him on the show, and we had a really good chat. And I think you're going to enjoy the interview. But before we get on with the show, I just wanted to remind you guys that the South Coast Comedy Festival will be putting on its very first event, celebrating Waterford Pumpkin Fest's 40th anniversary. Right after the fireworks, come down to Swazi's for a night of music and comedy. You'll have myself hosting the show, and we will have headliner Ty Wright. We will have a feature act, Joe Botello, and bring your dancing shoes because we will have entertaining us Badunka Funk. And so he's going to be definitely keeping the dance floor full and before and after the show. So bring a good attitude, and you can go to Eventbrite and buy tickets, or just go to Live from the Dutch Hall and reach out to me. Give us some feedback. Oh, wait. Give us some feed. Oh, man. Peter, one man showing it. Give us some feedback. There we go. And at all this, and we can get you tickets for that event. But also, if you're listening to this program and you want to tell us what you think, that's no better way to do it than give us a piece of feedback at live from the Dutch Hall, gmail.com, the Dutch Hall, gmail.com, Instagram feed, Facebook, Twitter, any of that stuff. You can get a hold of us. And also, thank you to CleanFlow for being a great sponsor of the show. Go to cleanflow.com. That's KLEENFLO.com. Check out all their great products. And if you'd like to help support the show, go to patreon.com/Dutch Hall and join our queen as being our main supporter of the show. She's actually our only supporter of the show, so you can also be a queen if you donate like the beautiful and wonderful Jen Husko does. So that's it for the ads and everything. So I hope you'll enjoy this interview. I thought Hunter was a great guy to talk to. We had a really easy chat. We talked about all kinds of things. Unfortunately, Jen, there's a lot of comedy in there, but there's also a lot of philosophy. There's a lot of talking about social issues, talking about language, talking about what subject matters to delve into and not delve into. We talked about a lot of great things, and I think you'll enjoy the interview. And also, Hunter was nice enough to say we could use anything from his album to help promote it. So throughout the interview, I put in little clips from the album so that you can get a flavor for Hunter Collins Goes to Hell. So without further ado, sit back and enjoy this nice theme song, followed up by an interview with Hunter Collins.
Hunter Collins is a menace!
Comedians like him must be stopped.
You are scum.
He went too far.
Think about the optics.
Words matter.
There's nothing funny about jokes.
Book Hunter Collins and you're blacklisted.
So what if everyone's laughing?
He farted on my nephew.
Hunter Collins literally threw toxic waste at the audience, and a bunch of people turned into rocksteadies and bebops.
He broke my spine with a bag of syphilitic hedgehogs.
Hunter Collins did 9/11.
I liked the whole show, but I didn't like that one thing about the thing I find offensive, so I'm tweeting.
Get off me, I'm tweeting.
Hunter Collins makes me want to puke my ass.
Hunter Collins went to a school for deaf kids and started clapping because, wait, did that last person say puke my ass?
Why is he getting away with this?
I guess you'd have to eat your own ass first and then puke puke it up after?
Astrology is real.
Thing is, you'd have to separate your ass from your body to eat it. Who's flexible enough to bite their own attached ass?
The logistics of it are a nightmare.
Silence him!
Hunter Collins pukes ass.
Ass puker!
Ass puker.
Ass puker.
Kindly welcome to the stage, Hunter Collins!
Today on the Dutch Hall, we have, I'm going to make a very rare exception for the Dutch Hall. Normally when we have guests in, we have them drive down to Norfolk County and come to my pool shed in my backyard, and we sit around and we smoke cigarettes, maybe have a couple beers, have maybe a joint or two, but it's a nice chat. And when the pandemic happened, we were forced to go to these Zoom or video calls, and I tried it. It was awful. It didn't have the human connection, and I felt terrible about it, and I said, never do it. But on the rare exception, when there's someone I'm an actual fan of, I will allow such a thing to happen on my program. And today is one of those exceptions. We have a Canadian comedian, but he really is a global comedian. He's all over the world traveling. And I just listened to his new album, Hunter Collins Goes to Hell. And I got to tell you, normally I have people's albums on here. I like their albums. I know them as comedians. I travel around with them. I hear their jokes, and they're good, you know. But this one, I'm actually going to say I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan. I actually felt when I listened to the album that I was in the room, and so I thought I have to have him on my show and talk to him. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program, Hunter Collins. Hunter Collins, everyone.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for having me. That was awful heartwarming. I wish I could be there in Norfolk County, man.
Well, I was
It
going to
looks
say,
like a woman hasn't been allowed to share her opinion in that room in 40 years.
you nailed this room in like 2 seconds. That's exactly what this room is. I have an enormous house on the other side of this shed, and I have no say in it whatsoever. It is all my wife's. This one she has no business in. She doesn't even like to come in here. She doesn't like the smell of it, eh?
It's funny how like guys always shit on word art, you know, like live, laugh, love, you know, made out of wood or whatever. But then you go into a guy's shed and it's like, I like to fuck on beer written all over the walls and stuff.
Yeah, I know exactly. We really are just children that never grow up, eh? Like, I think.
Yeah. We never get out of the, you know, girls rule, boys drool phase either, man. It's just under different, you know, monikers.
Yeah. I find even when you're, telling jokes, and like this is why I started the show, the podcast. It's like the most I ever laughed was having like friends of mine come into this shed, and we were just like having a few drinks and shooting the shit, and we're laughing our asses off because everyone's got this like freedom to say whatever they want, and it's like dressing room talk or something, for lack of a better word, you know, like it's just that
Sure.
you know, where men can say men things, you know. And the funny thing about it is that I'm probably 50 to 60% women that listen to the show. And and they tell me it's because they get to like be like a fly on the wall and hear what their husbands are up to when they're not around, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like they're spying on us.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have to go spy on women's changing rooms to hear changing room talk.
Oh, I tell you, when I was a kid,
from the other sex, you know.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my parents would have these card parties, and then you know, they wouldn't care about us. It was the 70s, and you know, like they would just like play cards and drink, and then you would just.
Oh, I thought you meant they were witches and they played tarot.
No, that would be interesting. This was just like bridge or something. Anyway, so like the men were in the one room playing cards, you know, and I would go in there and like you could sleep under either table. The table where the men were playing cards or the table where the women were chatting in the kitchen, you know. And I would sleep under the table where the men were talking. It was just tobacco, farming, and sports, you know, hockey. And then I went to the women's room, like to the kitchen, And, my aunt's talking about how big my uncle's dick is,
Whoa.
I'm like, I'm staying in the kitchen, man. This is way more interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, better you find out that way than from your uncle himself.
Yeah. Good point. Hey, do you find
By the way, Pete, my dick happens to be pretty. I don't know if you've been hanging out under tables a lot these days, but
I got a tuna can cock.
I mean, you couldn't see your uncle's cock when you're sleeping under that table. It must have been protruding from the pant leg.
Now, apparently, it's not the longest cock. It's more of a thick cock. Eh? It's more.
Okay,
it's
yeah.
more the girth.
He's sitting on a big pile of ground chuck.
Yeah, just like like a beer can or like a tuna can.
Yes. Imagine the tragedy of having a tuna can dick. Honestly, though.
Yeah, you need to put a shiv on the top of it, just to get it in.
What a nightmare.
Yeah.
Just no length, all girth.
Yeah, that would be. Well, you know what? I think there is a market for that. The girls like to stretch, I believe, but I'm only theoretically speaking.
But even for jerking off a tuna can, picture that.
Yeah, you can't get much.
You gotta hope for Pepsi at the least.
At least a half can. I wanted to say, I got a couple of. You're in Germany. This is what I was trying to say, right? Like, if you would come in Norfolk County ordinarily, and if there was a highway across the Atlantic Ocean, I believe that because you are a stand-up comedian, you would do an enormous amount of stupid things for anyone that would give you a bit of attention. Is that fair?
I would do a lot of things, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll drive to Keswick for $100 from Toronto, but yeah, man, fuck it. Sure, man, I'd drive the Rainbow Road across the Atlantic for you. There's no way anyone could disprove that. Yeah, shit, yeah, I'd do it.
So, Hunter, I just wanted, before I forget, because I do get sidetracked easily, your album, one thing I want to tell you about the album that's sincere, and one of the things I found was really cool about it, is that it really did capture that feel of in the room, that you're like in the club, And
shit, thanks, man.
And my favorite album all time is Skanks for the Memories, David Tell. And that had the same sort of vibe, like you feel like you're in the room, and you could hear people walking out of the room and going to the bathroom, and he would address it, and you felt like you were in a club, And with your album, your religious chunk on that album, it didn't really it didn't kill, like there were people in the room that were really uncomfortable with it, you could feel the energy kind of being sucked with that one little section, and it was a 5-minute piece of your album, and your album's like 55 minutes. You could have just said, hey, that didn't work, I still have a good album without that chunk, but you kept it in, and that's what I really loved about it, because it depicts what actually happens in a comedy club, and the jokes are good. That's the thing. The jokes are really good.
Thanks, man.
But the audience's reaction is dependent on the mix or the crowd or their ability to process it, how quickly they can deal with the heavy subject matter. Sometimes it takes a second or two. Maybe they will see humor in it, but it's not immediate, like a fart joke.
Yeah.
But so that energy, most people would become scared of it. I would say even myself, like I would be scared if it didn't kill to put it on my album, because I would want to get it one time where I had the right crowd or whatever that liked it, and then I could show how good the joke was by the reaction. But your way of doing it, because it really was better than that, because it was just like I could still have my reaction listening to it, and the reaction of the crowd was like another layer, and you addressed it in the joke on the album too, like you told them. Sorry, I will.
I say, it's the jokes were important to me to put out there, and so I knew I wasn't going to cut it, and you watch any sort of narrative, a movie, you read a book, like what good is it if your hero doesn't struggle a little bit? So, and I think part of the value of keeping that in is that I do get them back and then some on the very next joke after acknowledging that the jokes made them uncomfortable. I don't even think they didn't think the jokes were funny. I just think we're in a climate where people are uncomfortable laughing at certain subject matter. And I like to dare myself to try to pull it off despite that. So, it was important to me to keep those jokes in there. And I've been doing this a long time and doing it like 20 years. And I found that as long as you acknowledge how something is going, the crowd will sort of give you a bit of leeway there. So, it got a big pop when I was like, look at how uncomfortable these jokes are making you right now. You can't talk about this stuff. And, you mentioned like Attell's album, which is awful sweet of you to even mention us in the same breath. I love Dave Attell, and I'm sure some of that comes across in the album. But the albums I grew up listening to, I listened to No Cure for Cancer by Dennis Leary probably 500 times. And say what you will about Leary being a thief and everything, we didn't have a lot of choice back then. It was either you watch Delirious on video at home, or you listen to Dennis Leary on the bus on the way to school. Yeah. So, but that Dennis Leary album, you hear it, the crowd is barely captured at all. They're practically non-existent. And I'm not afraid of bombing, and this album was, in all humility, a pretty hard kill. And so to sandwich one little bit that actually talks about something important, instead of a lot of my more my lowest common denominator material, the fart jokes and the jizz jokes, or the stuff that's just pop culture, to sandwich that in there and actually have something to say was more important to me than sounding like a fucking god the whole time.
And then I asked myself, where does homophobia come from? And I gotta put the blame on the Abrahamic religions, right? You know the ones I'm talking about, right? Christianity, and then the other two I can't mention or else I'm mean. No. First of all, the Abrahamic religion people, you gotta stop saying that yours is the one true religion, okay? It's not even the first. Okay, it's preceded by religions like Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, ancient Egyptian mythology is older than some of them. Saying your religion is the one true one is like saying the only Lethal Weapon movie is Lethal Weapon 4. What? No, 1 through 3 never happened. Just a weird one with Jet Li. And we let old religions get away with everything. No one says, peep, look how awkward it's gotten in here right now. You're all afraid. They're fucking awful, right? We're all smash the patriarchy till it comes to religion, and we're all well, we all have different cultures, if your culture's ingrained in the... Gesundheit. Should I say l'chaim? If your culture's ingrained in the notion of manipulating the hearts and minds of otherwise good people so that your holy men don't have to get off their ass and go to work, that's not culture, that's a fucking cult. Thank you. You read the Bible, according to the Bible, genocide, pretty rad. Being gay, no es bueno. And being a woman, not exactly sold on that either. Half this fucking planet is women. Bible's we think you could do a little better than that. And they're responsible for a lot of harm in the world. We don't say shit about old religion, and then some people have the gall to make fun of newer religions like Scientology as if they're worse. There are places in the world where being gay is punishable by death for religious reasons. At least Scientology lets you cover it up so you can be in a couple Mission Impossible movies. If Tom Cruise came out of the closet in Iraq, they would chuck him off a building. And it'd be him because he does all his own stunts. Yeah. We've got sectarian holy wars that have been going on for 14 centuries between Shia and Sunni just because they practice a slightly different form of the same religion. Like, you guys know Elizabeth Moss from Handmaid's Tale? You guys know she's a Scientologist, right? John Travolta would never murder Elizabeth Moss just because they practice a slightly different form of Scientology. No, worst he would do is maybe imagine her with a cock and chest hair and jerk off in peace. I gotta say, Judaism's probably like the least harmful of the three Abrahamic religions. Like, anti-Semitism is fucking bogus, man. You ever hear someone say that? Anti-Semitism's bogus. Just came out of my mouth. How can you not like the chosen people? Okay, all they do is make all the best movies and shrug a bunch. What's not to like? Okay, how can you hate a man named Shloimi? Plus, Jewish titties? Come on. Come on. You can almost hear them greet you when they bounce. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Whoopi got in trouble, though. Did you guys see Whoopi Goldberg got in trouble for saying the Holocaust wasn't about race? Bit of a clunky point, Whoopi. I guess she's trying to say that, you know, it was about racializing people and stuff, but it just didn't come across very elegantly, you know. But, you know, is Judaism a race or is it a set of ideals, you know? I always thought it was kind of a set of ideals, but some people fight you on that to say, no, Judaism's a race. So I'm like, well, it's the only race I know that I can convert to. I can't convert to Japanese. Doesn't matter how much anime I watch. But it's a set of ideals. Some people say they're half Jewish. That always cracked me up. You know, it's like being like, I'm actually half communist on my mom's side and half pescatarian on my dad's side. We share a lot of fish. But that's fine. You're only Jewish if your mom's Jewish too, right? Like if your dad's Jewish, go ahead, eat all the bacon you want. If your mom's Jewish, good luck throwing a football 10 yards, Mordecai. All right. That religious stuff made you guys uncomfortable. I understand. Just remember, I wasn't wrong. Okay. I'll switch it up. We'll do some dirty stuff for you guys before we get out of here. Yeah.
I really can appreciate that because it's stuff I'm going through right now myself. Like I started out just pure dick jokes, and now I've been trying this more difficult subject matter, like language stuff and words and things that people get uncomfortable with. And like I have a gay chunk now that finally like I figured out, but man, you had to like really, really bomb for a long time, like to figure out all the landmines to get through to get it, you know? And then
and it's worth it at the end.
It is.
If you just walk some like nice, easy, cushy path in your Nike Air Zooms, you know, your feeling of getting across that meadow is a lot less validating than if you are dodging landmines in a pair of knockoff Doc Martens from the 90s.
Yeah. I have two daughters. They're like 19 and 20. And
what a great sounding board they must be.
Oh my gosh. Well, they tell me all the time, like they see me in the early stages of some of these jokes and they say, why do you talk about this stuff? You know, like, why not just leave it alone? You know, why don't you, like, you could just, they always say you could just not do it. You could just not talk about that stuff. And I always say it's our job to talk about that stuff because nobody else can, you know? Like if the stand-up comic doesn't say the things that nobody can say, even if it's bullshit, but at least gives you another way of looking at it, you know, versus just the standard way that society wants us to look at it. You know, our job's to kind of like blow that shit apart and show them a different way of looking at it, you know? So if we're not talking about the tough stuff, then no one is. And then it just gets like the problems with it get swept under the rug, you know?
Is your daughter's viewpoint that, you know, why does any comedian talk about this? Or why do you, as a straight guy, insist on talking about stuff like gay material, because those are different.
But both of those things have been talked about, and my, to be fair, my gay stuff is more about me being called gay slurs, and just how I can relate to wanting that word banned, like wanting some of those phrases banned, because they bug me too.
It's funny, because these are like the most important, most pressing subjects in the zeitgeist, stuff about gender and identity and all that stuff. And, we have a viewpoint as straight white people, that is probably, that is obviously a lot different. But to just be completely left out of that conversation, to me, just seems like we're pigeonholing ourselves into an uninteresting pool of topics, and I think part of the challenge, which is, a challenge that is that we've never really had until the last 5 or 6 years, is being able to make those jokes about those subjects fly despite the climate. I think that's a really fun challenge. Why not take on the challenge?
Yeah.
I mean, people like, you want us to just talk about I hate my wife and airplane food's fucking shitty?
Yeah, exactly. I've actually noticed that more corporate gigs are asking for edgier material. Like they don't want you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I think that there's somewhat of a pushback in society to how far how clandestine it's all become. I worked in the corporate world for like 15 years, and it was terrible, dude. It was so bad. It was like so bad to be a deep down in your core a comedian, but you're a banker for 15 years. Like you still are a comedian, like so you still think the same way that a comedian would, but like they're trying to get you to talk like in a way that
is that what you did, banker?
Yeah, I lent money to farmers.
Shit!
Are you leaving just because of that? I'm sorry. I should have told you that up front.
I just wanted to fart far away from the screen so you wouldn't smell it.
Oh, thank you. No, I thought maybe once you heard I was a banker, you're like, "Fuck this, I'm out of here." Yeah, I lent money to farmers for most of my time, and
okay.
When I was young, I wanted to be a comedian when I was young, but I didn't know how to do it, and so I thought I'd go to film school, and I put my my portfolio together and everything, and then my dad talked me out of it, said there's no future in that, and then I ended up being a banker by kind of like I don't know what else to do, and it just happened. I found someone got me an interview, and I got the job, but I really I knew it was wrong from the beginning. I was only supposed to be there for 5 years, and the plan was to save money and then go do comedy. And then it became 15 because like life, it's a trap, it's a trap.
You got a house and a shed in Norfolk County. Sounds like it worked out for Pete.
Well, that's all. Yeah, that's all right. But then I look at you and I'm like, well, you're in Germany and traveling the world and doing all the things that I think are the ideal parts. You know what I mean? Like you always.
Yeah, but this is my lunch.
Yeah, nice succulent. It's not that bad. Yeah. What brought you to Germany? Was it was it your girlfriend, or was it comedy? What brought you there?
I'm trying to breathe new air into the Fourth Reich.
It's about time. It's really about time.
No, yeah, my girlfriend is she's Czech, and she got a contract researching venomous spiders out of a university here in northern Germany. She's a behavioral ecologist who specializes in arachnids. And so she's here studying spiders, and I'm here doing voice gigs and Zoom gigs from our apartment. the whole thing is just shallow and full of hairy algae. It's like swimming in a Greek guy's back.
That's crazy. I've never been. I've always had a prejudice against Germany because they put my grandfather on the wall in World War II and shot at him in my Tanta Lencha, you know?
Oh my God.
Yeah. It takes a lot to forget
that. Him and your Mexican wrestler?
Yeah. Tanta Lencha.
What's a Tanta Lencha?
Tanta Lencha, it means Aunt Helen in Dutch.
Okay.
Tanta
I thought it was those guys who wear masks and jump off the top
She
rope.
does sound like a great luchador, yeah. The Tanta Lencha, or at least it's a finishing move, you know? Give you the Tanta
Is that
Lencha
a
off the top
Mexican
rope.
pastry rolled in cinnamon sugar?
A nice Tanta Lencha.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, they both survived. Thank God. The Germans were terrible shots. And,
okay.
Yeah. So, and then obviously they survived because I'm alive.
Well, I obviously resent Nazi Germany too. I resent that. So if you don't, you got a problem. But they're very guilty.
Yeah, I imagine. I imagine there's a lot of people that don't like speaking of the past over there. Like they're probably one of the most progressive countries in Europe, aren't they? Germany?
I mean, it's diverse and it's accepting, and all the graffiti I see is, ACAB, Antifa, whatever. Fuck Nazis. You'll see everywhere. And as far as I can tell, yeah, progressive. It's funny how, still that I'm hot shit, fucking Nazi attitude is still in some of these Germans. Just the entitlement of certain people. It's yeah, sure, you lost the war, but grandfather's still a Nazi, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think, you know what I think it is? I think it's Romans. You know the Romans?
Yeah.
They when Rome fell, they dispersed, right? They all over the world. And then I think if you charted the Romans, you'd find this mentality of white people who believe they're the better than everyone else or whatever. And,
right.
And they have this unstoppable urge to take over the world, And some of them went to Germany, some of them went to England, some of them became Americans, And then and this is why these countries think that they're superior in every way, But the rest of them must have come to Canada because we don't think we're that hot shit.
No. Interesting. Yeah, Romans, huh? What do Romans look like?
Big, from what I can read, from what I've read, it's like big, tall, kind of like blonde, Aryan-looking people, That's why I kind of think it's because the Italians that are there now, they're the people the squatters and stuff that kind of came in and lived in Rome after everyone else left.
That's why they never leave their mom's place.
Yeah, and that's why they're kind of like darker and like a hodgepodge of everything else. They're just like a mixture of everyone that moved into Italy after Rome fell.
Girls say Italian guys are hot, man.
Yeah, I think Italian guys have always been jealous of because they seem to have more swagger or something around ladies, and they can dance better than I can, and so they've always bothered me. Hey, what do you think? I think it's
maybe you have Roman hips.
I probably do have Roman hips. That's a shame. That's why I won't take those ancestry things because I don't want to find out that I have some horrible person in my history. Because right now I like to have the belief that we're all farmers and that we were watching atrocities, but we were just tilling the ground and keeping to our own business. We weren't doing.
Yeah.
I can take.
You get your genealogy and they're 100% Kremlin pencil pusher.
Yeah. Yeah. Who needs to know that? I think we should come up with a new race altogether and make pink people, split the whites into whites and pinks,
Okay, what's a pink?
A pink would just be you have to qualify to be a pink, so you have to show that you're not a dick. So then you
oh, pink as in yes, I see.
That's
great.
And then I can be pink, and then all the white guilt of the past can stay to the people that want to glorify it, and then I can move on being pink and get like left alone by my friends of color who call me a colonizer all the time.
Oh yeah, all that shit's so funny, man. Like, fucking colonizer. I'm like, I'm Irish Ukrainian. We're both victims of colonization.
Yeah, exactly. And they act like sometimes like during the time where where the white man was killing all the natives in North America, the natives were helping kill all the natives, like other natives, like if like they were doing the same thing to tribes that they felt were inferior to their tribe, you know, like it, and if you go to like Japan and see what they did, or if you go to, you know, you can go any kind of race in the world, and they were all colonizers. They all had slaves. They all were people. People are just people, you know, like there's evil.
Yeah, it's just sort of sad that, you know, guns, germs, and steel, fucking British people got it better faster. You know, they just killed, maimed, and colonized better than others.
Yeah. But everyone that was the game that people were playing back then. It was wrong and evil, but everybody did it.
Yeah.
I always think about, you ever hear about those slaves? And when the slaves were emancipated in the United States, and there was a bunch of them that wanted to go back to Africa, so they sent them to Liberia, and then
yes, this the country for liberated slaves.
Yeah, and then the first thing they did when they got there was they started enslaving the people that were already there.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like, and so they didn't want to make like abolish the system. They just wanted to be in the position of power within that system. You know what I mean?
A very human trait, yes.
Same with the United States. They wanted to break free of Britain, but they just wanted, the commoners just wanted to be the noble people. They just changed the rules in the United States, and they still have this system. So do we in Canada. That's like benefits the people that own stuff and keeps the people that don't own stuff down. You know.
Now here's the challenge: make it funny.
Dude, that's exactly it. That's exactly it, eh?
Yeah.
That.
I've got a little bit about white guilt on the album. It goes perfectly fine on the album. You know, it is a fun little challenge. You just gotta, you know, you pepper in like, yeah, man, I get it.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, white people have done a lot of awful shit. I'm just not one of these people who fucking sits around self-flagellating about it all day.
And look, this might come across as contrived from old Gringo Round Eye up here, but as I'm sure you are, I'm exhausted by racism. Real point of exhaustion for me. Do we have 90s kids here? Right? People grew up in the 90s? Yeah. Okay. Did you guys have that naive-ass thought that maybe we had racism beat for a while because we all wore Stop Racism pins? We all loved Jackie Chan and MC Hammer. We were like, we did it! We beat racism! But just like wearing short sleeve shirts over long sleeve shirts, white people keep bringing it back! Okay, I do yearn for a less white world, all right? Do you understand the utopia in my mind where I can walk through a park without seeing some spinach-chinned honky in a fucking poncho strumming Hallelujah on an acoustic? Okay? Can we diversify the gene pool so that we never have to see another dog yoga studio again? Okay? Let's just fuck people who don't look like us until we never hear the phrase, cool beans, again. You know, that's it. I'm also not one of these, like, self-loathing white people. You know, these depressing fucks who are like, every day I see my reflection in the mirror and I see the pasty face of the ivory colonizer. And when I walk through the streets and I see poverty, I know that's the blanched claw of the white man reaching into the pocket of the underprivileged. And when I'm eating a sausage McMuffin and I get one of those little hard bits, I'm like, is that bone or cartilage or something? And I'm like, do I root through the mouthful to extract the hard bit or spit out the whole mouthful? Because I paid good money for the sausage McMuffin. I did use a Duke and Dine for $8.99 coupon, but that's the fault of the white man. We're at this weird point in history where there are white people trying to tell us they aren't white. I'm looking at you, Italians. So I was like, bro, no, I'm from fucking Corsica. Guess what, paisan? You're white. I don't care how often you say gabba boots, you think mayonnaise is spicy, you white fuck. Here's a clue how to figure out if your people are white or not, okay? If you look in the mirror and you see a white person, you're white.
My daughter actually helped me with this too. She came back from a year at art school, which I thought should be more polluted, you know, instead of less. but she came back and we used to have, during the pandemic, before she went away to school, we had these arguments all the time about like anything politically charged or to do with gay issues or gender issues or anything like that I was trying to understand, asking her questions. Like, it turned into a big argument, you know. But I don't understand, because I'm like totally cool with everything. Like, I have no problems with anybody in the world, you know. Like, to me, if I look out the window and I meet people, and I've always just had a great interaction with them. I've never, unless they're a dick, and then I don't like that person because they're a dick, not because of anything else, you know.
Sure.
But so I don't know why she's always grumping at me, but she was basically just like regurgitating TikTok, you know, just regurgitating TikTok views of other people's views that she had heard, and she's just repeating them, you know. And she went away to art school, and she come back, and we had one of those issues come up again, and we were kind of like getting into the argument again. And she said, "Wait, this is an internet problem. It's not a real problem." And I go, "What do you mean?" And she says, like, "Do you see this happen when people, like," she was like really standing up for gay issues because she would see the problems online, right? But then she goes to art school, where she's in the middle of all these people who a lot of them are, you know, queer in some capacity, and they just because it's art school, you know, there's a lot of people and young people in general. So then she sees this, she lives in it, you know, and she sees the problems, and it's not as big a deal as they say, because she sees them be resolved in real time, face to face, you know, people that work shit out, you know, and that's what I always thought, like, is that, you know, I think I come from a small town too, so like in small towns, like it's an issue for like a day, and then it's not an issue. Like, people get used to the change, and then we might make jokes, but we're not like, it's not like we're like judging anybody differently, you know. I always
Sure.
Like, you grew up in Montreal?
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, in Montreal, it'd be like any city where it's like separated by communities, right? Like, there'd be like Little Italy or Chinatown and stuff like that.
Yes, I found Montreal a lot more segregated in terms of language and race.
Yeah, and that's how I find in Toronto too. You know, like, it's like there's like pockets and stuff, whereas in small towns, it's just like everyone just is one group. You know. Like,
yeah, there's not enough Somali guys to make a little Somalia in Norfolk County.
Right. So you just end up being like, you got your one Somali friend, you know, and then and you make fun of him because his food smells different or something like that, you know, like it's not like it's more of a welcome to the community to like bust his balls than it is, because like we do it to each other. Like, I like white on white racism is really funny to me, because I grew up with that, you know, like a Dutch guy making fun of a Belgian guy, or a
victimless crime. Yeah,
like, and so like, what if a Korean guy moves in, and why can't I do the same with that guy, you know? Because
historically there has been you know, crimes committed against Asian communities by white people is the thing. Belgians and the Dutch or whatever haven't been
we were kind
at
of
war with each other.
Okay. If we've been if we've had a war with them, then we shouldn't.
Not a literal war, but some form of
oppression, or
prejudice, oppression.
Where we've been on the like position of power, then you have to like not make fun of. But don't you find it to be more welcoming to
I guess it depends on the tone. If you're making fun of, stuff like maybe Korea's socio-political customs, or something like, geez, for example, South Korea's age of consent is higher than I think it's like 18 or something like that. You make fun of Koreans for being prudes or something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go around taping my eyes back or anything.
No. There's definitely limits, yeah. How about positive racism? Like, what if you were to say, like, all Asians are good at math or something like that? That's racist, right? But it's like flattering. Black guys are good dancers, That's a flattering stereotype. But it's still racist.
It's an interesting case by case. I think you got to just present it in a way that seems informed and not,
not throwing spitballs at it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm not pitching jokes, but.
That's funny about white on white racism. I've got a track on the album called Honky Gringo Round Eye.
Yeah.
That's the whole like white guilt, whatever. It's the white people, Italians trying to tell us they aren't white, all that stuff. Fucking Apple Music put asterisks in all the letters between the H and the Y in honky.
I saw that on the track because I listen on Apple Music, and it said, I was wondering at first when I saw it, I was trying to figure out what word could it be because it starts with an H.
Honky. They fucking bleeped honky. Can you believe that shit?
That is funny. That honky would be bleeped. I thought we were the forever okay to make fun of us. Kind of. It's like that doesn't hurt any cracker even. Would they bleep cracker then? Probably.
They didn't bleep round eye. So,
round eye.
I don't know.
That is stupid, eh? It is so funny who they're protecting from honky.
Yeah, it's really weird. Hey, I thought that was interesting. it'd be funny. I mean, I'm sure cracker wouldn't get bleeped because you can eat a cracker.
Right. So as long as your racist term is also another thing, you're okay.
Yeah, something else.
Yeah. I don't know.
But it's funny, like the case of like internet problems versus real world problems. Like I saw one thing pop up. I'm like a huge Halloween freak and horror movie freak, and saw someone post something like this Halloween, maybe be careful, saying that you're having spooky holidays because the term spook has been used historically to, denigrate black people. I'm like, what the fuck, spooky? No. You got to draw the line. There are a lot of terms that have been hurled at a, variety of races. We can't start. You can't, just say that like bringing up, for example, like talking about a proboscis monkey or something like that. Like, we still have to talk about animals. And the spooky season. Excuse me.
It's way more. A lot of times they're actually, by protecting the possibility of racism, they're just pointing out their own racism. Like
True.
Yeah, they're just like showing, like that they're seeing something racist in what you're saying, which is not at all. Like you're not even coming from there. Like the problem's really with you, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to say, shit, I lost it. I thought it was a good one. You had, you were talking about the proboscis right before proboscis. You were saying, the
old proboscis monkey. It makes people lose their train of thought all the time.
As soon as I picture that dangling nose, I just can't think of anything else. No,
that's not what honky gringo round eye, Italians saying that they aren't white.
Yeah, it was right. It was fuck it. I'll lose it and get it back again.
Spooky internet problems.
Spooky. I got it. This is how it shows you. This was like late 80s, early 90s, right? A guy I went to university with was going to high school, late 80s, early 90s, and he went to a place in Galt, which is just outside of Cambridge, and their mascot was the Ghosts. So they were the Galt Ghosts, right? And he played on the midget basketball team. So this was the late 80s. and he had they were called the Spooks because they were the mini, like this young ghosts, right?
Wow.
And Cambridge was becoming a little bit more diverse, and then they had a lot of black players on the midget basketball team, and it was on the front of the newspaper, the just across the jersey, and
bad luck, man, bad luck.
Yeah, that was the last year for the Galt Spooks that year.
Yeah. I wouldn't name a fucking sports franchise the Gorillas or Apes or something. You're just lining yourself up for scandal.
God. It is unbelievable.
Spooks is so short-sighted, though.
Oh, I know. That had to be something from the 40s or something. Then they didn't. It wasn't used maybe that way, or I don't know. It was something that they weren't thinking about.
Yeah, there are teams called the Phantoms. There's plenty of good, tiny, ghostly names. You can call your team the Poltergeists for all I care.
Oh yeah, man, yeah. Just dummies. That's all it is. The world.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I know. Because these are kids that were this guy was the high school kid, and at the time it happened, he thought it was also completely hilarious and outdated. A child at the time figured it out, but the school couldn't do it. That's
right.
That's how stupid it is.
From the mouths of babes.
Hey, Hunter, I wanted to say, because we talked earlier about how my path went through, I went to banking, and you started out and actually went to and studied how to be a comedian. Is that right? You went to Humber College?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did a 2-year undergrad at Humber College for comedy writing and performance. I went to film school in Montreal for 2 years before that. And I just found movie people, cinema people back then, they were all making movies about sad clowns on the side of the highway in black and white, and it just wasn't my jam.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found this through happenstance on this program in Toronto, and the course names were stand-up, improv, sketch comedy, and I was in love right away. Moved to Toronto the next year, and I was 19, so it was a good idea at the time, and I learned a lot. It was a 2-year sort of intensive study in all the different shapes that the comedy world takes on. And I think it gave me a little leg up out of the gate,
Yeah. I was wondering that because I've most comedians that I know haven't gone through that, but then you'll always see the class, they'll go up before the amateur night or whatever, see the Humber kids will be up there doing it. And, I've watched their acts before. There's a lot of good people, but then you never see them in when you keep going, you don't. Mm-hmm. Do you see a lot of your classmates that are still doing it, or people that you knew from that?
Well, say out of a class of 60, a cohort of 60, we had a high success rate. Probably six or seven of us are still doing it.
Oh, wow.
So you'll have me, Nick Beaton, Cal Post, Brian O'Gorman, Sarah Hennessy, Norm Souza writes comedy sketches for Fox Sports right now. Tyler Morrison, total roast freak. He's still doing it.
Oh, he did it too?
Yeah. Rodrigo Fernandez Stoll's huge in Canadian acting right now. Even a Jag Gankis you'll see doing still. He's, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's
2 feet out the door, really.
Well, that's still, like you said, that's pretty impressive for a class like that and that's still less than 10%. That's still 10%, or so.
Yeah, I think we were a high success rate year though. But then you have people like Nathan McIntosh, who's done all the late night shows. He came out of Humber. Nathan Fielder, both the Nathans.
Yeah. So
Nathan Fielder's the biggest name in comedy right now, and he fucking writes for Sacha Baron Cohen and Humber kids.
Yeah. See, I'm definitely gonna show this to my dad. I'm just gonna cut this part out, and then it says you were wrong. No.
It was a fun time. It was 2 years of every day was Animal House, Yeah. And no one took anything seriously. It was great. You were just cracking jokes for whatever it was, 7 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
It was pretty bonkers.
Yeah.
And you found like-minded people, like really like-minded, because comedy is so specific in the arts. It's not like film
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you can really sort of branch out. You can from a film program, you can become a sports broadcasting behind the scenes person, or you can become an action movie director. But comedy's pretty tight knit, and yeah, it was a dream 2 years, man. Learned a lot for sure. I definitely, if you're young, like I definitely recommend checking out Humber. And you're not sure what you want to do, go fucking blow a couple G's on an undergrad.
Yeah.
And the diploma got me in places too. Like people say, it's a worthless piece of paper or whatever, but I used that thing to get writing gigs, man. And I had a fat corporate creative writing job for like 4 years before I was able to finally transition into just doing comedy full time. Like, it totally, who doesn't want a accredited, funny writer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, whether you're going into advertising or marketing or any sort of like leadership and development, like there's a lot of opportunity there. And you do pick up a lot of good skills. Like I'm a voiceover guy now, and we learned all about timing and certain mic technique things that still help me out today. I can't back it up hard enough, actually.
Oh yeah. That's interesting, man. That really gives me a new take on it, because you always hear the guys that did it without it, that are just like, the only way to do it is to do it. The only way to learn is to do it. But then there is.
Well, there's that too.
But yeah. Well, you still have to do it. At the end of the day, you still have to do it. But there is still value in the theory. Like if you're a musician, you can play by ear. Like you can figure out how to play, or you can study the music theory and notate it and all the rest of it and understand all the mechanics of it. It both ways to the person that's hearing the music is the same, but the understanding of the musician, like you don't know that Paul McCartney can't read music, but if he could read music, I think he would be even better, don't you think?
Good, yeah, quite possibly.
And I think
you
that's
never
kind
know
of the
where
same thing with
naivete might take you into like a different, better direction. Oh, I don't know. It's all a crapshoot, man.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because maybe you went to Humber and they taught you these techniques, and it may pigeonhole you into thinking just that way. Like
it did do that too, actually, and I had to sort of unlearn a lot of things.
Really, yeah. I interviewed this guy.
Sure.
I interviewed this musician, Fred Eaglesmith, and he told me he one time spent 2 weeks trying not to believe in gravity. Right, that was his point. And I'm like, what? I said, I spent 2 weeks trying not to believe in gravity. And I said, well, why? And he says, because it wasn't until I questioned everything that I thought was law, everything that I believed was just like the way that it had to be. I had to question everything so that I didn't believe anything was true in order to have pure creative freedom. Because then I wasn't encumbered by anything, any of these like restraints, he said. And
that's fucking interesting.
Pretty deep. Yeah, it was an interesting concept. A really cool guy to talk to.
That's so fun. I wish I had something that interesting to say. Like, I spent 2 weeks trying to convince myself that fat, crooked dongs aren't funny.
Oh, they're hilarious every time. And they get up in the walls.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I am the same way. All I got is dick jokes, but I just love them so much, and I can't help it. I can't help it.
Yeah, you're still in love with it?
I do. That's my favorite thing to do is dick jokes, because I think there's a certain amount. You call yourself the world's foremost nincompoop comic, right? Like,
yeah,
like that's
absolutely true. I am.
There's like something to be said about like just silliness, just kind of like this is just like we're just trying to have fun, like it's not like we already talked about the important stuff and how to say things that like you feel and make people kind of think, even though it might not get the reaction that you want, but the other reaction of just telling the fart joke and hearing the immediate pop is that that's never going to be not fun to me. Like it's just so fun.
It's why people are there is to pop off.
Yeah.
And it's once you start sacrificing that, for the sake of your important message or whatever, I think you're failing as a comedian. It's nice if you can do both. And I think a lot of that comes with wisdom. Like, I've been doing it 20 years, but I was a dumb kid for 3/4 of that. And I'm just sort of now maybe starting to come around to, I don't know, maybe I certainly wouldn't say what I have to say is important, but more of what I say is important to me, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. That comes through really. And I think it comes through with, all those kind of things. Like I look at it because I know the sausage is made, and in order for you to get some of those bits, like you had to go through like difficult nights, like you had to kind of like make some mistakes in order to get to where that was,
I'm sort of mad at myself because I didn't do my most hardcore bit on the album, and I was so beat up about it. I shimmied it into a sketch, like the final sketch from the album.
Oh yeah,
and
the one in hell.
Yeah, where I talked to the devil about I was murdered on stage by some conservative progressives and with impossibly tight, short bangs. And I wind up in hell talking to the devil, and I'm like, and it turns out I go to hell because I did too many jokes, which is just a commentary on people being so fucking mad at comedians these days, but that they deserve to go to hell. And so I shimmied the joke in there, but man, it fucking kills me that I didn't do it live. And I think it's actually a good point. The joke was, just how religions are all at each other's throat over who's better and who's worse, and they're all trash, and they hurl accusations at each other like, you've abused the children. It's like, yeah, you both do, man. You really both do. Catholic priests are awful. There's a lot of people in the Middle East fucking marrying children. Like, get over yourselves.
Yeah. Nothing's like, nobody's got it right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I do believe that the Jewish people are way less, condemnable than any of the big three Abrahamics.
Oh yeah, like it's weird because it's the same book for like the base is the same for everyone, but it's just all about interpretation, eh? And I think I've been actually really into, because after I had a kind of a breakdown at 40 or whatever, which is what, and so on my rebuilding over the last 8 years, I've done a lot of research into philosophy and different sort of teachings and stuff like that. And I really like this guy, Alan Watts. Have you ever heard of Alan?
Yeah, Watts? I love Alan Watts. Yeah.
I love Alan Watts. And his take on Jesus and Christianity and all that stuff is really that Jesus was a Buddhist, and that he was saying, we are all God, that we are all, like, everything is God, like those oneness, this Buddhist kind of philosophy. And just because of the capacity of the audience that he was trying to explain it to, they interpreted it as that he was this special son of God, and the rest of us were like meant to worship him. But he was trying to say, no, we are, like, we, the collective of us, everything you see and everything that the reality is made by all of us, and so therefore, we're God, and it's
a nice sentiment.
And then this could have been a beautiful religion, this could have been a hopeful, everybody creates the best world that we live in. And instead it's like, no, you guys are pieces of shit. You got to be guilty about yourself. And this one guy was great, but you guys are all like eternal sinners, And I really, how could you get it so wrong is kind of the thing, It's just and to go to your point, I think wherever Judaism is now, they kind of just look at it in a more reasonable light. Out of all of them, I think they have the most reasonable outlook. Like when you can go to a rabbi and get like actual advice, and like
Right.
they'll tell you.
It's almost more a culture than a religion.
Yeah, I think so, and I think religion is really supposed to do is build community, and I think a lot of people, that's what they're looking for, is just a community, you know, and there's a lot of good people in those things, but the things themselves are shit. I mean, I don't.
Yes, they are. They really are. I've been listening to a few podcasts about the notion of cultural religion versus fervent fundamentalist religion. The notion of cultural Muslims and stuff like that, and what I think makes audiences uncomfortable is that when you criticize a religion, they're not sure if you're criticizing the ideologies or the people. And I think it's important to protect the people, nurture the people, but it's important to be highly scrutinous of these ideologies. And sometimes that subtext maybe doesn't come across in a bit, but I know I do my best to sort of do that without explicitly saying it, because I don't want to baby the audience.
No, but you have to think it. I mean, it's got to be the base of it, you know. Like I think that's important anymore with any joke telling now, is that you have to say, okay, the joke. If you have a good joke, you just basically have to make sure that you're always like boost. I think in the past you could just attack even the audience. You could just go at the people and just kind of attack them. Where now I find that like crowd work, effective crowd work, is not so much going at the audience, but like maybe like boosting the audience up. Maybe like I see more guys that are like flowery bullshit to like, it's like maybe they're putting themselves down, putting that guy over, but it's tongue in cheek. You know what I mean? But you're you always got to be like taking care of people and making everybody look good. You can look bad, you can look stupid. Like the target's more of you as a comic, that you're the person taking the brunt of the heat. But where in the past you could be that like alpha that's going at everyone else and target. Mm-hmm. Where I think now your targets can be institutions, but they can't be people. Your targets can be ideology, but not people. You know, like as long as you're saying that people are good, I think you're good. Where before, I think like maybe 20 years ago in comedy, that wasn't a consideration. You just went for the joke, the target.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think also like I'm not big on Jeselnik's material, but I think he's an interesting person, and he's saying that, and I understand where Jeselnik comes from on stage. I just think he's kind of smarmy and smug, but he says like. His material, which is highly subversive and highly, I don't know, he goes touchy areas. He touches exposed nerves.
Yeah.
He says, you understand by how far I go, what side of the conversation I'm really on. And for some people, that's not enough.
Yeah. Like my take on Jeselnik is the jokes win, like for me. Like they're so good that just as the mechanism of the joke, like the preciseness of it, I really like that, and I see I see the craftsmanship in that, to say I really that's what I enjoy, but like like this is his persona on stage is a person that I would never, want to spend time with, like,
right.
but the jokes are like the jokes I'm in awe of, actually. Like,
and I watched Jeselnik. I know he's a progressive guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's all bullshit, and I kind of like comics that don't give a straight answer. I know. I actually didn't know what I was going to be in for with you today, because on your website, a lot of your facts are bullshit, about yourself. Well, I don't know. Maybe they're not. But I like that. But like, I like when you watch an interview with like Gilbert Gottfried or someone like that, and like he doesn't answer one question straight the whole time. Like there's never it's just for the joke, And there's
Yeah.
there's something I like about, like, something that's like freeing about that. But then there's another part of me that just loves an exposed nerve, you know, like someone that's putting them's whole self out there and like just being honest, you know. And so
Yeah. And there's room for everybody. Like
yeah,
a lot of, it's a big it's an internet problem where people are like, this kind of comedy is stupid and has to go. It's like, no one's coming to your show and telling you the same thing. Like,
yeah,
there's room for everyone. I keep saying,
yeah,
there's room for Doug Stanhopes and there's room for Hannah Gatsby's.
yeah. That's the thing. There's audiences for everyone, and that I think, you know, like it's the internet. Everything they don't like they think that
Yeah.
they think we care about it. Who cares what you don't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the same way, they need to get over the fact that there is subversive comedy out there. Comedians need to get over the fact that there are audiences who don't like what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They're just noise. Just keep doing what you're doing. Have fun. Hopefully it's still fun for you, because I think for a lot of people, comedy is no fun, and you can tell. And then I think their art suffers.
Yeah.
It becomes tainted and just full of. They're not doing it for the right reasons anymore. They're doing it to get back at that person who tweeted at them, and it just it's no fun for anybody. It's like a roast where the people actually hate each other. It's like your parents fighting.
Oh,
it's not UFC anymore. It's your fucking parents about to get divorced.
Yeah. That would be awful, actually. I've never really thought of that. Like a roast where people actually hate each other would be absolutely, oh no, it would be terrible.
I'll come back.
Okay. It would be terrible. It would be terrible. Because, yeah, it would be. It would just be like an uncomfortable, even if the jokes were good, it would still be uncomfortable for everyone. Yeah, there has to be an element of love in it or it doesn't work.
Well, I I did a couple seasons of Roast Battles Canada, and you'll see a couple of those roasts that the people don't like each other, and the jokes are good, but it was like so cringe.
Yeah, especially for people that know the history of the people. Yeah. I watched one of your roast battles actually.
Which one?
You had long hair. And
still do.
Oh yeah, I thought it was
it was longer.
Who are you up against?
I roasted
a lady,
Cassie Cow, Jeff Paul, and Courtney Gilmore, and Kyle Brownrigg.
It was Cassie Cow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I saw. Yeah. It's harder. Do you find, like, I've watched the roast battles from different countries. Like I watched the British one and then the Canadian one. Those are the only two.
Oh, British one's great, man.
The British one's great. Yeah, it's so great. And then I don't know if it's because I know the people on I know some of the people on the Canadian one. If that's why I can't. It's like I can't be objective to look at it, or if Canadian stuff is just always missing something, and we can't put our finger on it. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong because I know why can't that be as funny as the British one is what I mean. Like, why can't it? There's something I can't put my finger on it.
I got a couple controversial opinions.
Okay, I'd like to hear you.
Okay, I think, we have worse editors. So a lot of what I did on there was edited by someone who's never seen comedy or like read a book or talked to somebody. It was crazy. Like just jarring, like that's how you decided to cut that up. It's you make me look like a fucking just a rock dumb. Would never tell that joke.
Yeah, and I find that they try to characterize a lot of people in a way that I've seen them perform it, and I don't feel that's them. You know what I mean?
Right. True. Absolutely. The other thing is, I think Canadian showbiz suffers from a bit of smaller the potatoes, bigger the egos. So the judges you have in the UK, you've got Russell Brand and Catherine Ryan and Jimmy Carr hosting.
Yeah.
They're all wonderful monoliths of their respective areas of comedy, and they're just taking the piss out of each other and laughing about it and loving it. In Canada, we're also bloody insecure because, we feel like if someone insults us, everyone's going to believe it, and then that'll lead to me being a fucking loser. No one's going to hire a fucking loser. It's this crazy fear. It's this fear that stems from lack of opportunity. So, and I think because of that, people can't take jokes well. And that was the performers, the judges, they're all like I think K. Trevor Wilson steals the show on the Canadian roast battles, but overall there was I was insulting everybody, and everyone else was afraid to insult the judges because they wanted to win. And I'm like, it's predetermined. It's all fucking we're trying to make TV, not fucking. You're not trying to make the playoffs. So I think it suffered from a little bit of that. Thirdly, and from a macro standpoint, the reason why the British one stands out compared to the Canadian one is because Canadian comedians aren't as good. And we're so up our own fucking ass. And I think it breeds apathy and lethargy. We're like, why don't we have all these opportunities that they have in the UK and the US? We're just as funny. No, we aren't. And the reason why is because we don't have those opportunities. And the reason we don't have those opportunities is because no one consumes our product, and that's the fault of Canadians. So Canadian people are the biggest reason why Canadian showbiz sucks. We don't fucking we don't consume ourselves, so there's no impetus to create more and foster more opportunity. Why would there be a million Canadian productions if no one's going to fucking watch it? Everyone's going to watch American and British shit anyways. So, and why don't we support our own? I think Canadians are plagued by this mentality that's like, oh, buddy's up there on stage. Why does he think he's so hot? Why does he think he or she think she's so good? You're just as good as me, buddy. And it's like, it just makes for, the no star system that we have, etc. But you look at Quebec, these comedians have to turn over a new hour every year because they consume their own.
And
that's why it sucks.
Yeah, well, I can't disagree with any of those points. But the main thing is, like, you look what the music industry did in the 90s in Canada, and it was because of Celine Dion. Like, they got a bunch of Celine money because she made it was all Canadian, and then they invested that in the Canadian music industry, and then all of a sudden we started consuming Canadian stuff, and
much music helped with that.
Yeah, much music, and so like this all of a sudden led to now we do consume Canadian music, and there is good Canadian music out there, and there always really was. It's just that it wasn't promoted and it wasn't known about really. And now, and I think that's the same thing that we need to do with Canadian comedy if it has any chance, because we're already up against huge geography, sporadic populations. Like it's an inferior country to do comedy in every way already, and then we don't invest in it like other countries do. We have the biggest comedy festival in the world, and we promote other countries' stuff. You know,
you know what? Those comedians from the other countries are funnier than us.
I know.
There's so many to bring in, and I don't know what the answer is. I think the country needs a huge paradigm shift, and it's such a big ask.
Yeah.
For us to want to watch our own shit. I don't know. It's like a chicken and egg thing. Well, I think we might just be fucked, and it's time to give up.
Well, I'm actually right there, Hunter. I'm looking at moving in my kids are grown now, and I'm just like, why would I stay here? I just got to go somewhere. I just can't be here. And you've done comedy everywhere, right? Like have you done it?
I've only done comedy in like half a dozen countries.
Oh yeah, you went to Australia, right?
Yes, that was great. Yeah,
and they're the same. Like they're spread out, sparse population, right? how are the audiences there?
Same, comparable to Canada in that they're different if you go from small towns to big cities. Um, I saw a lot of weird shit that would not fly in metropolises when I was up in Cairns and Northeast Queensland. Whereas stuff in Sydney was a lot closer to a Toronto scene. So um, a bit of social justice, some alternative comedy, and then some hard hitting club comedy that flew, that did really well. But the stuff that I saw in some of the rural environments was a little less, I don't know what the word is.
Polished?
I don't know. Yeah, less polished and a little like there was a ton of dog eating jokes at the start of Corona.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was a real eyebrow raiser, head shaker.
You get
Various parts of my anatomy going up and down.
Yeah, unfortunately, you get that
Boner killer.
Yeah. You get that shit in pockets of Toronto too. Like there's just
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think in the smaller scenes, the smaller stand-up scenes, those guys kind of get weeded out. The people that are like being a little bit like that don't get it, that maybe have a little bit more hate behind their jokes and stuff like that, they'll get kind of weeded out. But
you'll get punched in the face in a small town.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, but then in the bigger centers, like there's just can be enough of them that they can put on their own show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then that's where they kind of can believe they're not doing anything wrong because they're not being policed because they just have this sounding board of their own, which I guess is them finding their audience. Maybe that's what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said,
let Darwinism run its course there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the crowds in Australia were awesome. We performed along, the whole entire coast where there's people from Western Australia and then all the way up the East Coast. Didn't do much in Southern Australia, but yeah, it was a dream to just go there and crush.
Are you done any stand-up in Europe?
I did Edinburgh 1 year at the Edinburgh Fringe Fest, and then I did a couple shows in Berlin when I first got here, and that was great too. What's cool about what I've done in Europe so far is like everyone's from somewhere else. And so you're playing to a crowd of like, people from 15 different countries.
Yeah.
And they're like freshly from 15 different countries and they're culturally different. It's not like Toronto, which sure is a multicultural hub, but they're Torontonians.
Yeah.
So you're playing for fucking Scandies and Spaniards and Brits and Central Europeans. It's a cool challenge.
Yeah. That's really good. That's to me is like a dream, eh? It's the best test of your jokes, like you can see these are universal jokes or not, that's.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
You always feel like the new inmate when you go to a new town to perform, it's like, oh boy, do I sidle up to the weird big guys so they don't get me in the showers, or maybe I'll just be here safe in numbers with the rest of these weak lemmings.
Yeah.
Where do I go?
Yeah, exactly. Man, well, I think that's about all I really had for you, Hunter.
I hope we got through it all.
Oh yeah. Oh no. The only other thing I had was because you do edgy subject matter. Do you ever have people who laugh at your jokes for the wrong reasons and then come up to you like after the show sharing their political opinions because they felt you were on their side and you were totally not on their side?
I think any misunderstandings I get are from the other side of that. It's people being like, "You fucking asshole, how dare you say that?" I never get people who like my stuff for the wrong reason. No.
Oh, thank God. It's the worst. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I did it one time. I did a show called Meet a Muslim, right? And I had a drywaller from Turkey. He's a Muslim guy. I had him come in, and my whole crew of Norfolk County, like farmers and local, guys. I had a band at the time, and they came in, and we all just got to know this guy, asked him all the questions about Muslims that we could come up with, so that we could learn. Right?
like some freak in a science lab. I love it.
Yeah. And we learned a lot of cool things. He turns into a bear when he dies or something like that. And
whoa, lucky.
They keep like a little, like a genie lamp behind the toilet with water in it to wash their bum. Do you know that?
Oh, I don't know. That's maybe a sect of Turkish Muslims.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just that guy's family.
I could be getting it all wrong too. This was a long time ago. But then, anyways, the point.
Imagine you walk into like a mosque. You're like, hey, where's that genie lamp you guys washed the shit out of your asshole with?
Yeah.
I'm not sure which custom you're referring to.
You just rub it and you say, I wish my butthole was clean. And then, no, so we do this show. We have a great conversation. He's a nice guy. Everyone gets along great. We're still friends with that. He's a good guy. And
great.
So I have this guy, listener of the show. He sees me in town, and then he says, hey, I listened to that show, Meet a Muslim. I agree with you 100%. They need to stay in their own country or whatever. And I'm like, whoa, that is not at all what I said. Like, that is the opposite of what I said. I was like, you guys, like, Islamophobia is based on ignorance. Like, that's what I was trying to say. It's like, if you get to know these people, you'll realize they're exactly like us. They're just people, like, it's like, stop being narrow-minded. That was the moral of the whole show. It was the premise.
You could tell from the title.
Yeah, I mean, I set it up in that fashion. Like, I can't understand, but like people generally, even in an audience, when they're listening to your jokes, they're thinking of their grocery list. They're thinking of their where they gotta run the kids to. Their minds they're only getting parts of your stuff, and if they're not 100% paying attention and their own personal prejudice or bias grab a hold of it, they can make it mean whatever they want it to mean, Don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've only encountered that people hating my jokes for what I think is the wrong reasons rather than liking my jokes for the wrong reasons.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a good problem to have, I guess. Would you take a gasp? How do you rank a gasp, an audible gasp of the audience, like versus a laugh? How does it feel to you?
Well, I think there's different kinds of gasps. I think there's a and I think there's a oh, and I'll take a oh at the same same value as a good laugh any day. I don't want the inward gasps. I like the outward gasps, but inward gasp is like, fuck, what did I do?
Yeah. That's like to suck the life out of the room. I did show in Burlington a couple weeks ago, and they were an awesome crowd, but they were like upper middle class, and I tell my dirty jokes, and I'm getting great reaction, really popping. And then I tell some of my mental health stuff, my gay stuff or whatever, and just nothing, like not a gasp, not anything, just silence, just like from really a good pop for the other jokes to nothing. And then I would go at another dick joke, get the pop, and then say, okay, maybe I can sneak this one in, and then boom, dies. It was like they hated anything where I was like, where they could feel sorry for me, where there was an opportunity to feel sorry for me. They would just feel sorry for me. They were just so sweet. They were just so nice, They didn't want to feel bad. They didn't want. But if I tell those same jokes in a shitty town where people's factory just closed and they've been through some shit.
You're still describing Burlington to me.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I
think the coat factory went under.
I don't know. To me, Burlington. I'm from Delhi, so to me, Burlington seemed pretty nice.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah. But yeah, like if you go to Oshawa, for example, like Oshawa would love those jokes that particular crowd hated. If I go to a darts room in Oshawa, they're gonna like it. But if I do it,
Oshawa is crazy. It's such a amalgamation of rodeo clowns and the women who blow them. It's fucked up.
yeah,
It's really insane. But I found this one phenomenon with more, country towns when it comes to challenging material, certainly about like identity and stuff like that, stuff that could be perceived as phobic of any sort. It's harder to push there because those communities are less in on the joke than the bigger cities are. And so they're afraid of appearing as, backwards country bumpkins. So they're like, I don't think I'm supposed to laugh at that, is going through their mind, Whereas if you were to do that in Toronto, Calgary, whatever, they'd be like, oh, no, I get it. This guy's joking, So,
yeah, because you're confronted with it
real,
on a daily basis. Yeah.
yeah, that's part of the fun of comedy, man. It is like it's a science that applies differently on the different planets. The gravity's different everywhere if you believe in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It is. That's what I like about it. It's like I like any sort of a thing that I can do for the rest of my life and never know all there is to know about it. It's infinite.
Yeah.
There's an infinite number of things to learn, so I can always be challenged by it. It's like perfect, for me.
Yeah, we still don't know why we laugh.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it's the preferable option to crying in the face of death.
Yeah. It is weird though.
Imminent.
That's the best thing is when you can tell a joke that people do not want to laugh at, but you figured out the way to say it that they're going to laugh anyways. Like it's just that good of a joke, and because it's involuntary, they have to do it. Like they laugh whether they want to laugh or not, So even if in their head they say, I don't want to laugh at that, but it's a funny joke and I get it, like they have to laugh. So
Yeah.
It's
get busy living or get busy dying at every turn.
Yeah. I find that like a bomb now, like when a joke doesn't land, especially if I know where I'm going with it, it doesn't bug me. It's like just information, like sometimes it even, like if a joke I've told a bunch of times and it works, bombs, then that makes me laugh because you guys all hate it. Like this thing's worked everywhere, like why do you guys all hate it? Like that is, that's kind of funny to me. But then if I'm working on a new joke and it bombs, but I know it's going somewhere, then I'm just happy to get the information, like I'm just happy to, and so that
helps you edit.
Yeah. So like to me, when I started, it was like a personal attack on whether I was delusional or not, and
yes.
and now it's like, oh, this is just like how I get my information,
That hit hard, dude.
What, the delusional stuff?
Yeah, because I wonder that still all the time.
You do?
Of course.
Oh, I'm surprised.
You have to. Keeps you honest.
Well, but like you can't. You're funny though. Like you can do it. You've done it for 20 years. Like
yeah, I've got 20 years of history that sort of in the back of my mind proves to me I can do it, but
yeah, and
still, it's the act of going up there and saying what I have is important for you to listen to, even from an entertainment standpoint, is so pompous. Like I grapple with that all the time. Comedy is just at its core embarrassing.
You couldn't be more right. You explained it to people. Can I please be on a raised platform and amplified and, a spotlight shone on me so you can all hear what I have to say? And be quiet and listen.
And I don't know if that's like me sort of embodying what I hate about the Canadian population, that I think it's immodest and it's bred into us to think that.
Yeah.
But it makes me cringe, man.
Well, that is funny. I think maybe you're onto something there, because America's like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's all very selfish stuff. And I think Canada's is like something like fairness and good government.
Boring.
Yeah. It's all like for the greater good of the society as a whole, and forget yourself and all the rest of it. Like, we are just as a culturally, and we're not meant to be as boastful and braggadocious as the Americans are, and we're not even supposed to be as selfish as they are, you know. But
yeah,
it serves you well in comedy to be selfish. Like
yeah, I mean, sure, from a career drive perspective, on stage, I'm not sure.
Wow.
And certainly in Canada, like I've got this fucking satin dragon jacket. I wore it on one of the roast battles. It's so sick. And every time I wear it, I just bomb like crazy because these Canadian crowds are like, fuck this satin dragon jacket motherfucker. I'm sure if I did a set in like Miami with that thing, I'd be elected mayor the next morning.
Yeah, there's a quality about you, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but there's a certain quality about you that's ultra likable, and there's a certain quality about you that's ultra unlikable. You know, like, so you don't know, like, what is this guy? You know, like, is it a guy I like or a guy I don't like? And it could just be something as easy as a satin jacket that'll just tip it to the other side, you know?
Oh yeah, tips the scales, buddy.
By the
Scale
way,
falls off the fulcrum, down off the counter, big clang.
Yeah. I would. By the way, I feel comfortable saying that to you because I feel the same way about myself. Like, I do think that just a white male in general on stage. There's a people are going to say, what kind of a guy? You know, is this guy a dick, or is he? Like, we're not the worst people in the world, but if you were to like describe the worst person in the world looks like to like a police sketch artist.
It's me.
They could draw either one of us. Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, the mustache, the long hair, people fucking hate it. They call me a pedophile magician. There's anything.
Oh yeah,
like a Chinese pimp. I've been described as before.
I get douchebag. I get douchebag a lot.
It's the curved brim, bro.
Horrible douchebag is what I believe they like to call me.
You know what, that me being hateable and likable thing, it's by design.
Oh, yeah.
And it's this sick, weird pride thing that I have where I want to be liked despite being unlikable. I want to prove to people that I can say dislikable things and still be liked. Isn't that fun? Is that weird?
No. I think that's
sick. It's manipulative. I don't know.
It's that's the craft. That's the craft of the balancing act of comedy that you're trying to get to. You know, that's the spot that you're trying to put your character. Like, I think makes perfect sense to me. Like, I think that's not dissimilar to what I'm trying to do. Like, I don't want people. I admire people that can go up there and be unlikable, like just pure unlikable. You know, like where they just have like Jeselnik in a way, like that bravado, like that, or even like.
But he's a wrestler. He's unlikable the same way Ravishing Rick Rude is unlikable.
Yeah, or like Jason Rouse or something like that. You know, like how he's got this dark character. You know, like it's like you kind of like you accept it as the bad guy or whatever. You know, and then you just let him be the bad guy. I always find that to be. That would be awesome. It would be so freeing to be this like bad guy wrestler on stage, you know. But
yeah, because theater needs villains.
Yeah. But I am not a villain. Like, I think that's the real thing. And then so I think because I'm so big on honesty, I think they would smell it on me that I'm like pretending.
Right.
Yeah. And then
there's a fine line between like being naughty, you know, and like the appeal. There's a certain appeal to being naughty because it's like, look at that plucky little prick there, testing the borders, you know, forcing evolution. Like there's something I strive for in that. I strive to embody that, but being naughty can like easily just turn into being a piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like we all like the kitten who like is told not to knock a roll of toilet paper off the counter, does it anyway.
Yeah.
I sort of try to do that.
Yeah. Exactly.
But sometimes I fucking don't just knock that over. There's a hot pot of coffee. There's fucking glass and dark liquid seeping into the living room carpet.
Yeah.
It's easy for that to go awry.
I try to go more for bumbling idiot, like I just don't get it. Like I'm fumbling my way through life, like trying to understand it, like thinking that my ignorance can be my thing. That people would find it endearing. He's just stupid. Like he's just he's sweet, but he's a dummy. Like that's kind of where I think they can find.
And there's a fine line between bumbling idiot and a complete fuck up. No one wants a complete fuck up around them.
Yeah,
makes their day worse.
Yeah.
But a bumbling idiot's like, oh boy, did you see that? Like, oh boy, Pete tied his shoelaces together. That's great.
Yeah, like a Yogi Bear or something that says something profound wherein he's really kind of just a simpleton. That's kind of what, if you can kind of disguise like really important or really like deep thoughts or opinions that you have as a dumb opinion that the crowd can understand. You're still you're making a point like a dummy would. I think that would work. Like they're like, oh, he's kind of right, but he's like saying it wrong.
That's a sick angle. Well, how did that weekend we did in London go? Because you said we gigged together at the London club, right?
Yeah, Yucks in London. It was we did 2 shows.
Who else was on?
The headliner was a Toronto guy, one of the Kyles, I think, or something. And I don't remember the headliner actually, to be honest with you, because but the Anthony Malekis was the host, and then I was just doing
Malekis.
Yeah, it was years ago though. It was
must have been.
And I did 2 shows on a Friday. I remember there was a 40th birthday party and a 21st birthday party that were there. Yeah, that's all I can remember. It was got to be like 4 years ago or something.
Yeah.
When that Booker
gonna miss walking to that London club. My God, I took my girlfriend to London after I took her to Niagara Falls, and Niagara Falls is pretty destitute. And I was like, look, we're going to London. We're just gonna have like a night in a hotel. Maybe we'll go to the shitty casino for a second, but it's not an enjoyable town. She's like, how bad can it be? And we got there. We did that drive from the hotel to the club, which is through some, Dundas, some shitty. Yeah. And it was so starkly demoralizing for her to go through that part of town. She said there's a specific word in the Czech language she had to describe to me that meant like shitty, fucked up, and sad at the same time. Like that only exists in Czech, that described that strip from the hotel to the club. Like, I'm going to miss that. One time I saw a lady, and this isn't funny, but it's like, this describes London. I saw a lady with a knife, like a fucking Rambo knife, cutting the scabs off her face on the way to the club.
That is something. Yeah, London hasn't improved very much. There's like, it hasn't really improved very much. Yeah, that's where I got my start. But it's it's a very transient place for a comedian. Like you can start there, but then there's no pros. There's no real people that are doing it. Like for
and without the club, there's not even like an ocean floor for your little coral polyp to get its little roots into.
And Yucks in London never was that club. It never really was. Like, it wasn't a hangout. It was.
Yeah. Too bad.
Yeah, it is too bad. I hope there's stuff popping up everywhere though, and hopefully things will get better. But I still think I'm going to go other countries. But
I'll bet I could look it up, which would be fucked.
I don't know if it's a Kyle or not. He just seemed like a Kyle. It was just what I would call a very Toronto comic. It was just a very Toronto comic. It was generic to me, like a couple TTC jokes, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember the guy. What if he's a really good guy and I'm just trashing him and I don't remember?
Could be.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember. But I remember that you should have headlined that. That's what I said. That's what I was thinking. Because I was like, why they...
Oh, you're awful kind.
What?
You're awful kind.
Oh, yeah. That's what I mean. Well, I don't know. You know how most headliners and features can switch spots. And then there's...
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're not going to know. Like we'll take whatever we can get, right?
Of course. Yeah, I get these inspiring quote emails that I never signed up for.
Oh, yeah, cool. Got one?
Yeah. You can't live a perfect day without doing something for someone who will never be able to repay you. Isn't that nice?
Ah. You want to leave it on that for the Dutch Hall listeners?
Yeah, I also want to find out who this piece of shit who headlined the London Club was. Here we go. London.
Oh, no.
April 2021. Oh, no, I can't say that name. I love this guy.
Oh, no. Did I really? How do you know that? What year was it? What year was it that you're looking at?
It was 2019.
That's that recently?
No, 2019.
Text me the guy's name afterwards and find out who I shit on. Okay.
Oh, it's 2018. 2018.
You know who it is for real?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is he? I'm sorry. Text me though after so I find out who I shit on because I have to.
I will. It's so funny. It's so funny.
I don't know. I remember it was a fun night. I like doing. It was 2 shows and stuff, and I remember. That's all I remember. And I think we. I think we hit it off. I think we hit it off as I.
Oh yeah,
recall.
man.
Yeah, like it was a nice time.
You know, us for peaches.
Yeah. Well, Hunter, I really do appreciate you doing this with me. And I meant everything I said. The album Hunter Collins Goes to Hell is available wherever you can get music, I think. Like it's on Apple Music, Spotify, all the rest of them.
Yeah, man. Go down to your local HMV, Sam the Record Man.
Or go to huntercomedy.com and you can check out all his old albums too.
Yeah.
Hunter, again, thank you so much. Take
Thank
care.
you, Pete. Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me the time, buddy.
Oh, man, as I said, once in a while these things come out, and I'm just so proud of the work that you did because it really makes us all look better to have albums like this out there. And
thanks, man.
Keep up the good work, and all the best to you.
Likewise, man. Hey, good luck getting out of Is it Norfolk or Suffolk?
Norfolk, yeah.
Okay, good luck. We'll see you in Europe soon enough.
All right, thanks a lot, buddy.
Peace, dude.
Peace out. Bye. Well, that was our interview with Hunter Collins. I hope you liked it. If you'd like to give us a piece of feedback at live from the Dutch Hall at gmail.com, the Dutch Hall at gmail.com, Dutch Hall on Instagram and Twitter. You can find us everywhere. Just look for us, YouTube, all that stuff. And until next week, we will see you, Auntie. See you next Thursday.